In the late 1960s, some cars rolled off American assembly lines so powerful, the companies that built them weren't entirely sure anyone should own one. Insurance companies didn't think so either. They started adding surcharges, in some cases, premiums that cost more per month than the car payment itself. Police departments began quietly acknowledging that certain vehicles simply couldn't be caught. And more than a few drivers discovered the hard way that 450 horsepower, bias ply tires, and no traction control is an education that comes fast and doesn't come twice. These weren't restomods. These weren't modified. These were factory cars, bought from a dealer, driven off the lot, and capable of doing things the roads weren't built to handle. Before we start, drop a comment. What's the most powerful car you ever personally owned or drove? We'll be reading them. This is a list of 8 cars that didn't just push the limits. They broke them. #8. Pontiac GTO Judge. We start with the car that defined the era's attitude. The Pontiac GTO Judge arrived in 1969 as a package aimed squarely at the Plymouth Roadrunner. Loud graphics, meaningful hardware, and price kept honest. The standard engine was the Ram Air 3, a 400 cubic inch V8 with 366 horsepower and 445 lb-ft of torque. For an additional $390, you could step up to the Ram Air 4, same displacement, factory rated at 370 horsepower, but with a radical camshaft that was weak below 3,000 RPM and restless at idle. That engine reportedly lost Pontiac money on every unit built. It also earned them credibility they couldn't buy. Quarter-mile times with a Ram Air 4 and a 4-speed Muncie landed in the low 14s. That's conservative by today's standards. In 1969, it was a serious number. The Judge was the muscle car as pop culture, named after a catchphrase from a TV show, painted in carousel red, to make sure nobody missed it. It was also, by the standards of what's coming on this list, one of the more controllable cars of the era. #7. Oldsmobile 442 W30. The Oldsmobile 442 W30 doesn't get the attention it deserves. In 1970, when GM lifted its displacement restriction, Oldsmobile put a 455 cubic inch rocket V8 into the 442 as standard equipment, 365 horsepower, 500 lb-ft of torque. Then they offered the W30 package. On paper, just 5 more horsepower. In reality, considerably more. Period testing by automotive writer Roger Huntington suggested the W30 manual transmission engine was producing closer to 440 actual horsepower. The factory rating was deliberately conservative. The W30 package added a fiberglass hood, functional force air induction, aluminum intake manifold, a special camshaft, and factory blueprinted cylinder heads. This was factory hot rodding, dressed in a suit. Of the 19,330 442s built in 1970, only 3,100 carried the W30. Most came with an automatic, and with 500 lb-ft of torque on tap, the Turbo Hydromatic didn't need to apologize to anyone. Question for the comments: is the 442 W30 still the most underrated muscle car ever built? Make your case. #6. Plymouth Roadrunner 446 pack. The Plymouth Roadrunner started as a democratic idea. Raw performance, minimal trim, price kept where the average buyer could reach it. The base 1969 Roadrunner with the 383 started under $3,000. Then Plymouth offered the A12 package, the 446 pack. 3 Holley 2-barrel carburetors on a single intake, 390 horsepower, 490 lb-ft of torque, fiberglass lift-off hood held down with 4 pins, Dana 60 rear axle with 4.10 gears, no wheel covers, no frills, just hardware. The A12 Roadrunner ran the quarter mile at around 13.88 seconds at 106 miles per hour in period testing. Numbers that put it essentially on par with the HEMI at a fraction of the cost. Around 1,400 were built for 1969. That was the genuine danger of the Roadrunner. It put serious horsepower in reach of anyone. You didn't have to be wealthy. You just had to want it. #5. Dodge Charger RT 426 HEMI. Few muscle cars carry a reputation like the Dodge Charger RT with the 426 HEMI. Rated at 425 horsepower, it delivered brutal performance, but only in the hands of a skilled driver. Its power came alive at higher RPM, making traction a constant challenge on period tires. Heavy, raw, and unforgiving, it demanded respect at speed. While the HEMI was legendary, many argued the 440 six-pack was the better street engine. Easier, smoother, and nearly as powerful. Your turn, street fight. 440 six-pack versus 426 HEMI. Which one do you pick and why? #4. Chevelle SS 454L. In 1970, Chevrolet created a monster, the Chevelle SS 454 LS6, the most powerful midsize car in GM history. Officially rated at 450 horsepower, it delivered brutal real-world performance, even outmuscling the Corvette. Built for just 1 year, its high-compression engine and race-inspired internals made it a true street dominator. By 1971, tightening emissions rules ended its reign. Today, its rarity and raw power have turned it into a collector's dream, with values soaring far beyond its original price. #3. Ford Mustang Boss 429. The 1969 70 Mustang Boss 429 wasn't built for the street. It existed to satisfy NASCAR rules. To fit the massive 429 engine, Ford re-engineered the Mustang at Carcraft, heavily modifying its structure and layout. Officially rated at 375 horsepower, its true strength came at high RPM, not off-the-line speed. While not the quickest in a straight line, its race-bred durability and engineering made it dominant in NASCAR, where it proved nearly unstoppable and cemented its legendary status. Only 1,359 were built over 2 years. Was the Boss 49 a street disappointment, or did it just need the right driver to show what it was? Leave your thoughts. #2. Plymouth HEMI Cuda. In 1970, Chrysler unleashed the HEMI Cuda, a brutal fusion of the legendary 426 HEMI and the compact, aggressive E-body platform. Officially rated at 425 horsepower, its true output was far higher, making it one of the most powerful muscle cars ever built. With extremely limited production, especially rare convertibles, it became an instant icon. By 1971, emissions laws and insurance pressures ended its run, cementing the HEMI Cuda as a short-lived but legendary masterpiece of American performance. #1. Buick GNX. In 1987, the Buick GNX shocked the automotive world, proving muscle cars weren't truly did. With its understated black design and turbocharged V6, it quietly delivered supercar-level performance. Despite conservative factory ratings, real-world power pushed it ahead of America's top performance cars. Its blistering acceleration rivaled exotic machines, redefining expectations in a dull automotive era. Limited production only added to its mystique, making the GNX an instant legend and one of the most surprising performance icons ever built. Final question for the comments. Does a 1987 Turbo V6 belong on a list with the 426 HEMI? Make your argument. We want to hear both sides. These 8 cars weren't made in the same decade, and they weren't built by the same philosophy. Some were the product of an arms race that ran until regulation ended it. One was a NASCAR homologation exercise that got handed to the public. One was a defiant last word from an era that was supposed to have said everything it had to say. What they share is this: each one demanded more from the driver than it was designed to forgive. Today, the ones that survived intact are worth fortunes. The market finally caught up to what the engineers already knew. These weren't just fast cars. They were statements about what American manufacturing could do when the accountants and the regulators weren't yet fully in the room. The question isn't which one was fastest. The question is, which one would you still take out on a quiet back road tonight? Next time, the factory sleepers. The cars that looked completely ordinary until the light turned green.